Hi everyone, welcome back to Plum Mashable. So for today's video I have a reasonably complicated bee shaker card. It is so gorgeous though, it is definitely worth how long this video is. So let's go ahead and get to it. Okay, if you remember back a couple of weeks ago, I got the My Monthly Hero kit from Hero Arts that came all the way from the States and I was so excited. So I'm finally going to use that. It's taken me a couple of weeks to work everything out, but I have a shaker card that's a little bit different for me that I think is going to look really nice. So first thing we're going to work on is the front, and then we're going to work on the shakers, which is something different and I'm very excited, and then we'll put it all together. So I know for this card I want to do a top folding card, which isn't something I do very often. But yeah, I've been watching too much Alf Maguire, so you know, it happens. So what I need to do first is make this this is going to be my front panel. This is going to be 10 centimeters by 14, so it's going to fit really nicely on the card front there that I've already made. So grab the trimmer in and I'll just measure this out really quickly and then cut it to size so that we can start. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to be just a little bit bigger than 10 by 14 because then I can trim it down. So I'm just going to cut it to 12, and then I think this is, oh whoops, that was the wrong bit of cardboard anyway. I need the taller one. I have a bunch of cardstock or cardboard offcuts here because I figured I'd use as much sort of stuff that I didn't, not wasted stuff, but scraps, that was the word I wanted. Oi. So I'm just going to work on this bit for now and then we'll trim it down afterwards. So I want to make this be a yellowy kind of colour. I could use cards like just plain coloured cardboard or coloured cardstock. I want to play with the inks, I just feel like it's more fun. So I've got wild honey, mustard seed and fossilised amber. They're all different shades of yellow, but they'll work together reasonably well. I don't know why I got the orange one, I meant to get the yellow one. So all I'm going to do is just play with the blends a little bit. So I'm starting off with wild honey right at the top, which is the dark, I'd say is the darkest of my colours. Just blending that on. I'm being a bit gentle. Sometimes I can be really, really heavy-handed with ink, and I'm deliberately trying to be really light, especially in the middle. Just want to get that coverage though, so it doesn't look like there's any white paper in the middle. And then once I've sort of got my honey where I want it, I'm going to come in with mustard seed in the middle. This is going to be a very subtle change. You're not going to notice a lot. I'm going to use this bit to kind of hold things still. But there is a difference in the colour, and it'll sort of, I'm hoping you'll be able to tell. You might not be able to tell. I'm just working them together gently. Because I'm using the same brush too, I can kind of go back and forth and it's not a big deal. I don't think you can tell the colour difference as much as I wanted to, but that's alright. I kind of like the way that where my brush has hit, sort of in the middle here, gives you slightly darker colours. And then I'm coming in with the fossilised amber on the bottom, and this is a bit duller, so I'm hoping you'll be able to tell. But just doing the same thing. I don't actually think you can tell the difference in the colours when they're this close together, but anyway, you can a little bit. Got some markings on there, but that's okay. So I'm just going to finish this panel off just with the rest of the colours, just filling it in. You can tell if you're looking really closely, but I don't think anyone's going to look closely enough at it to tell the difference with the colours. I'll come around the outside afterwards and put some ink on here, like some different coloured ink to try and change the colour up a bit. Give it a bit of darkness. Kind of mixing the colours together now, but that's alright. You can tell, like there is a very subtle difference between all three, but it is very subtle. And in fact, I'm going to switch this around. I'm going to have the wild honey on the bottom. I just want to come in a little bit more with that wild honey at the bottom. Just make it just a little bit darker. And then to add a little bit more to this, because I can't just leave it like that, you guys know that, I'm going to add some water spritz. We're going to do some speckles of wild honey, and I think I'm going to play a little bit with my vintage sepia which is one of my Versamark inks. I don't know if this will work with ink blending. Just grabbing in one of my other brushes. I'm just going to try something on some scrap first, because I've never tried to ink blend with this. Where my brain starts to kind of work itself out. Alright, we're going to start with just a little bit of splatter, nothing massive. Just want to do a little bit of wild honey and some water. And I'm going to put a little bit, no I'm not, I was going to put a little bit of gold, but no I'm not, I don't want to overwhelm this. Start off with the water spritz, just a little bit over that. Yellows never pick up the spritz all that well, so I don't expect this, it will be subtle, but that's kind of my aim with it anyway. And then I'll come in, I did do that, didn't I? With the wild honey on top, which doesn't, oh yeah, there it is. Again, it's very subtle. Yeah, happy with that. So I'm just going to put that off to the side for a second while I tidy up, and then we'll work on the next bit. Okay, I was really umming and ahhing if I was going to use this or if I wasn't. I am going to use it, and I'm going to use it with the VersaFine. So this is the cling stamp that I got that's sort of part of the collection but not part of the kit. Now I've learned how to use this. I'm very proud of myself. I've learned how to use new things. So I'm taking out all of my bits of paper and plastic and stuff from my Misty. You don't need to use a Misty with this, but it does help a lot. Sort of up to you, I guess. You could put it on the back of a really big acrylic block, but I just find the Misty works really well. Because this is about the right height, so I just want to make sure I want the top. The bottom is where I'm happy to sort of trim this off and where I'll be doing my trimming in a minute. So I want to make sure I get that part of this. Because I'm not stamping, no, I'm stamping on the whole thing, aren't I? Except for the bit at the bottom. So I'll just use my magnet to hold that bottom bit down. We'll ink all of this up. So I will show you another card that I've made with this kit at the end, because I do have another one. And with that one, I used my Distress ink, and Distress Oxide, and I didn't get as nice a impression of this as I would have liked, or at least I got a very good impression, but it sort of faded a little bit. I'll show you in a minute. But I don't want that to do that this time. I want it to be a nice sort of clear impression. So that's why I'm using the VersaFine instead. So I'll just give that a good rub. Okay, we're not so good in the corner, so I'm just coming back and pushing there. There we go. I should have moved that over just a little bit more so that I didn't get that edge, but I'm cutting it anyway, so it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Oh, I love that. That's really pretty. It may make this a little bit busy, but I think it'll be okay. Right, so that's our background. I want to get the 10 by 4, 10 by 14 done now so that I can kind of work on this properly. So I'm going to go on this edge is right. I don't want to smudge it. So this edge is right, so I'm going to cut all the other side edges to that size. So I'll just grab my ruler, mark out the 10 and the 14. Yep, down that side. I will use my trimmer to help me too, but just the pencil guidelines help as well, especially on my trimmer here that's it's got inches but centimeters as well. So we'll just try this. So I'm just lining it up to about 10 here as well, but then using my pencil mark as well, making sure it's straight, and then cutting. And we'll do the same thing here. So looking for the 14, sort of about right. There we go. Should have done that a little bit more on the top. It's okay. It'll be fine. You won't be paying that much attention to it. Did I not measure that right? I didn't either. Okay. So I've made this a little bit too short. I should have had it a little bit longer. So I'm just going to grab my card front and just trim that to match this, because it doesn't matter if it's a little bit short. I was just trying not to play with the card front size, but you know me, can't do it. So I'm just going to cut a teensy bit off the edge here so it's the right size. I think this makes it about 14.5. So the card front itself is 14.5 by 10.5. And then we've got a 1/2 centimetre white border all around the outside. All right, so from there, this is where we're going to start making the shaker part. So in the stamp set, in the die set, you get this awesome honeycomb die. So I want to have the honeycomb be on here and have it in the middle, and then we're going to make a shaker in the well in the middle. So I'm going to put that there, line it up where I want it. Actually, before I do that, just to help me out a little bit, because these little bits in here are very, very intricate, I'm going to use my Express It adhesive sheets on the back, just so that I don't have to put glue there. It'll make this a lot easier. So I'm just going to cut this to about the same size. Can be a little bit smaller because you're only using it on the top. If you're really worried about keeping, about like not wasting stuff, if you're really big on it. We'll put this on the back of the card, or on the back of the panel, so that way when I cut through with the die, it'll cut this as well. So I'm just making sure I've got this up the right way. I want that to be the top. So more important to have this at the top. And then we can go ahead and cut out the honeycomb. So I'm just working out where I want to put it, because there's lots of different ways this can go. So I'm just lining that up and then grabbing some washi tape just to hold this still for me while it runs through the die machine. I always love when I've been splattering and I've got ink all over my arms. It's just funny. So I'll run this through the die machine really quickly. It might have to go through twice just to get through that second layer of paper, but it will work much easier than trying to put glue and stuff on it. So I'll take the die off. I'm being very gentle here because I don't want to ruin my background. I'm just going to grab in one of my little plates just to put all the little bits and pieces in, because we might be able to use them for a different card later. Now the downside is some of these have lost the sticky back, so if it has, I'm just going to put it back on so that I can use them later. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'll be right back for the actual reveal. Alright, so I've got all of the sticky bits, like the backing on all the sticky bits, so now I'm just pushing through the ones that didn't quite come out of the die. As much as I can, I'm trying to keep the backing on here so that I can not have to worry about that. You see how much easier this is using the adhesive sheet instead of trying to put all the glue on. And keep it much easier when we get the shaker part going. Alright, so there's our background. Oh, I love that so much. So the acetate's going to go on here, and I've got the acetate ready to go. What I need to do first though is build up the well. Now there's lots of different ways you can do this. You can do it with foam, you can do it with cardboard, you can do it with like foam tape. I have been watching too much Jennifer Maguire, so I want to try doing a cardboard version just to see how I like that compared to the foam. I know how I like the foam tape. I find it sticky, and things that I put in there to shake don't necessarily shake the way I want them to. And then I like the kids foam, but the kids foam I get is sort of a little bit too skinny, like too thin. I need to do 3 or 4 layers to kind of get to the point. So that's where I'm thinking the cardstock might help. So what I'm going to do is grab a bunch of this not extra cardstock, but scrap cardstock that I've got. just going to measure this so it's just a little bit smaller than what I've got here. So again, just measuring that out and cutting it. If you want a little trick, this is why I keep this bit of tape here. So I've got this to the right width. So I'm just using this really thick glitter tape from Planners Anonymous. And now that's going to be exactly the right width every time without me having to actually trim it. So I'm going to put I'm going to try 4 layers. It might end up being 5, and it'll depend a little bit on the thing we're putting in the shaker, which you'll see in just a sec. So there's my 4 bits that we're going to use to stack up. Now I just need to measure out where I want to line up the die, because we're going to die cut each of these bits so that the hole is in the same spot. So I'm just taping one of the bits to my background, and then I'm just going to put a little dot in in 4 of the corners so that I can line this up. So I'm just double checking what the pattern was first, because if I've got them in so it'll be like that. So then I should be able to just pick this up. Doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect, it just needs to be reasonably close. So I'm going to try that. If I've messed it up, I can just run it through I can just cut another bit. It's not a big deal. We'll try this one, see how we go. You kind of got 2 choices here. You can leave it so that that's the bit and then it'll only shake through here, and then you've got to line it up, which is a pain. I'm actually going to cut out all the white bits, which is why I wasn't too nervous about it not fitting 100%, because we're going to cut this off anyway. So that's actually in exactly the right spot. Well, it all hides behind there, which is the point. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all of these bits out in the exact same way I just did, and then I'll show you what I mean with cutting the next bit. Alright, so now I have all 4 of these which line up. They're not 100%, but they're pretty close. So then I want to go through here and cut, which sort of seems a bit weird now, but cut out all of the sort of little bits here so that we've just got one big shape around the outside. And what that'll mean is that my little shaker bits will have more room to shake. Alright, so they're all cut out, and as you can see, when you put them together, get a mostly cohesive, and I can fix that up when I glue them together, so it's not going to be an issue. So all I'm going to do now, really quick off screen, I'm going to completely cut to it because it's boring as hell. I'm just going to go ahead and glue these together. I'm just going to use liquid glue, just my normal Tombow, nothing exciting, so that they're all in the same spot, and then we can start actually making the shaker bits. Okay, all stuck together. I'm just going to grab just a couple little knobbly edges. You guys know how much I hate the knobbly bits. So I'm just getting rid of anything that's really knobbly and it's annoying me. And then I'm going to stick this down, hold this down with my acrylic block. I was going to say acetate block there, but that's not right. You're not going to see a lot of this, so don't get too hung up on it. But I'm a crazy person, so I need to make sure it's all okay. So I'm just putting that under my block. I think that it will be thick enough, but we will see. So for the things that are shaking around in there, I'm going to try something new. These are shrink plastic sheets. I got these from Spotlight. I knew them as Shrinky Dinks when I used to paper craft like a long time ago. And I couldn't find them anywhere. So I thought, well, we'll give this a try and see if it works. So these are Sizzix brand. It should work with my die cut machine therefore, and therefore this will be really easy. So I'm grabbing my bees from the stamp set, and I'm just going to do this bit with an acrylic block just because I can. So I'm going to grab my Hero Arts ink, which by the way, I have been trying off screen and I love. And the white ink comparison is coming, so stay tuned for that. And I'm just going to stamp out these little bees onto this plastic. So I'm going to do a fair amount of them because obviously I need a lot of things to shake in here. So if you think, I think maybe 3 of each, that's 9. I might do 4 of each just to stay on the safe side. So I'll stamp them out and then I'll let them dry because they need to dry naturally. I can't use the heat tool on these yet because otherwise they'll start shrinking, and I still want to add some colour. So we'll stamp them all out, let them dry, and then we'll come back and put some colour on them. I didn't get 100% perfect impressions on all of those, but I think it's okay. We're going to be shrinking them anyway, so you won't notice. I'm having a panic that I did those on the wrong side. I should have read the instructions. Okay, I can't find online where it says what side I'm supposed to stamp on or do any of this on, but I'm taking a wild guess and saying that you stamp on there's sort of like a frosted side, and then there's a really shiny side. I don't think I could stamp on the shiny side, so I'm pretty sure I've done this on the right side. It is drying slowly, so I'm just going to finish letting that dry and then we'll colour these in. Just while those are drying, we'll just work on the background for now. So this is the actual card front, the one that we cut to 10.5 by 14.5. I'm just going to wash it off about 1/2 centimetre. It doesn't matter if this isn't 100% right, because we've got a little bit of leeway. So it's just making sure that you've got a mask all around the outside to keep this white. Now, if you don't want to keep it white, if you would prefer to have the whole background be a different colour, then obviously you can just do the whole front and it's fine. But I want to have just a little bit of white background around the outside. So I'm just trying to keep this as straight as I can. Because we don't need the whole thing to be inked, I'm only going to ink just this top bit, and I'm just going to do it all in Wild Honey. I want a slightly darker background. I might actually even pull in just a little bit of brown afterwards. So I can just go straight to paper with this. I don't have to be particularly careful. It's just a very plain background. It's not going to have any of the stencil on it, not the stencil, the background stamp on it. It's just going to be plain. If you sort of want to see what it looks like, you can bring this in. You'll see where all the colours are, but it definitely needs a bit of brown. So I'm just going to bring in a little bit of Vintage Photo, because I'm sort of thinking this is, you're looking through, so it's getting to the back of, not the back of the hive, but it just needs a little bit more depth. I'm sticking mainly around the outsides here, but again bringing this back, dog hair, just to sort of see what it looks like around the place. I will put a little bit of speckle on this as well. I think that's nice. Okay, so do just a quick spritz of water and just a little bit of speckle of the walnut stain. Is that the one I got? No, Vintage Photo. I never remember which colour I picked. So that's what our background will look like behind there. Oh, that looks so good. And thankfully it's worked with my tape, so woohoo. So I'll just move that off to the side to dry. We'll bring back in these little bees. This is the one that I sort of messed up, so I'm just gonna just touch it and see. It's okay. They're still a little bit wet, but they're not lots wet. So to colour these in, I'm just gonna use my Copics. I'm just gonna use some yellows to do the bees, because that was my main reason for getting this stamp set was that to me, it just looked so easy to colour. So that was why I wanted to play with it. So I've got Y15, Y13 and Y08. I don't think I need all three of these. I think one of them will be fine, or two of them will be fine. Because like I said, this is going to give you a really light, it's going to be a really small area when you shrink it anyway. So I'm just colouring in, and I've moved it over to the white so you can see it a little bit better, and I hope you can. So I'm just putting, I might actually have to bring in a darker. Just grabbing Y18, which is just a bit darker, and I've also got Y38 here, just to put a little bit on the edge. I don't expect this to be 100% perfect on the shrinky plastic, so the blend is not the be all and end all, get it be, but I'm just trying to make it as nice as I possibly can. The ink is not 100% dry here either, so it's moving around a little bit. So I've just got the darker stuff on the outside and then the lighter on the inside. But I think I'll just go ahead and colour these all in just with the Y18. Okay, all coloured. Now what I'm going to do is run these through the dye machine. I'm still a little worried that they're not quite dry. I'm just cutting sort of the excess off here. I am a little worried they're not quite dry. I'm going to leave them a little bit longer, and I'm actually just going to speed through, so when I come back you're going to see all these little bees cut out, and then you're going to see me shrink them. Alright, so that took a little longer than I thought, and I kind of damaged a couple along the way. A couple haven't cut out exactly right. That one's actually not too bad. And I've had a practice. I did have to blot the ink a little bit. I waited about 20 minutes, so I might need to try some different inks to see if I can get one that dries faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to shrink one of these, and then I'm going to go ahead and shrink the others off camera because I don't want to be here all day. So I've got a pair of reverse grip tweezers, and I'm just going to hold on to this little guy. Now when I used to use shrinky dinks, I think we used to use them in the oven. You can use these ones in the oven, but I think it'll be quicker to do it this way. So I've got my heat tool here, and all I'm going to do is heat this up. Now I'm obviously going to take the sound out because this is an annoying noise, but I'm going to leave this in at regular speed so you can see how long it takes. I do need to put it down at one point so that I can get sort of all of it. I have had a practice. But you'll see how cool this looks once we're finished. Now that one, I think I've messed this up. I don't think I can save that. Unfortunately, it rolled the wrong way. I'm going to try heating it up a bit more and see if I can get it to lay flat. No, I did actually get that to lay flat. So they get a little squishy. So what I'm going to do is just stick it underneath a block to get harder. And I was using another block to kind of bang into it. But there you go, you get a little kind of plasticky thing. The cool thing with using the glass is when you put it between the acrylic and the glass, it dries like it solidifies really quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of these, make them all little. While I was waiting for those to dry, just to sort of give you a little bit more information, I went ahead and added some extra layers to my cardboard honeycomb. There's 4 more layers on here, so there's 8 bits of cardboard. And that was because when I put these in the middle, like when I put it on like that, it felt too high, so I figured it wasn't going to shake properly. So I've added a little bit more to add some room in. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink all of these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my heat gun died. I don't know why my heat gun died. I don't know exactly what happened, but it did die. So we just went and put these in the oven. They are still a little bit warm, so what I'm going to do is just grab my acrylic block and just sit that on there. Oops, I broke one, I think. Just sit them on there just to try and flatten those a little bit. I don't know if it's because my heat gun got too hot or if it's actually dead, but we'll soon find out. Alright, so there's my bees. They're doing their thing. We're going to finish assembling this card. This feels like it's been going for a really long time. Just keep in mind, I have had lots of learning while doing this. So learning tends to mean things take a bit longer. I'm also not particularly happy with the way that looks. I think I've not done something right. I didn't line them up particularly well, and they've kind of ended up being, I can see through. So I'm just trying to work out if there's a way that I can fix that, short of doing it all again, because I don't want to do that, because that's what it's going to look like, and I can see all the paper through there, and I don't want to. So it's not too bad. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ink all this up. I'm just going to use what's on the brush. I'm not going to put any more ink on it because there's plenty here. We'll just see what this looks like. If it looks okay, I'll leave it. If it doesn't, maybe we need to get some paper or something. No, actually that's not too bad. Now you can't tell so much. It was just that it was so stark white. So I think that'll be alright. Alright, so we need to stick the acetate on first. Made a bit of a mess today, but that's alright. So just a little bit of acetate. I've still got the mark on here, so that's going to help me out a lot. We don't need as big a bit. It doesn't need to be the whole section. So I've got the little bit of acetate. We'll stick that on first. So I'm going to remove the sticky paper and we'll stick the acetate on here, hoping I don't get too much glue and bits and pieces on it. I need to put the other bit. I'm just going to use this bit because it didn't get any glue on it. There we go. That's all stuck. Then we're going to go ahead and mount this up on here. So I'll need to put a little bit more glue on the back, the glue around the outside. Now I'm just deciding if I'm going to rub it in with my fingers or if I'm just going to leave it on the edge. Just want to avoid anything that's too sticky. As in, I don't want there to be too much stuff for anything to get stuck on. It's my biggest gripe when it comes to shaker cards, is when you get stuff just sort of sitting on the side. It drives me nuts when it gets stuck. But I'm hoping, because these are such big kind of elements, that it won't do it so much. I'm lining this up so I can't see the edges. That's all I care about right now, or as less of the edges as I can. And I'm going to have to come in and trim some stuff off the edge. So there is just a little bit of the cardboard showing on this side. So I'm just trying to cut that without cutting my front. Should have just been a little bit more careful when I was doing that, but we learn things. Just pulling that up a little bit just so I can get in the edge. You could use the trimmer for this. I have a feeling that it wouldn't cut that much cardboard, so I've kept my straight edge. That's all I care about, and I can't see the white, so I think think that's okay. Alright, so that's where it's going to sit. Before I go sticking this down, I'm going to put a little bit more, no, I will just use normal glue for this, but I am just going to put a little bit of powder just around the inside here, just to try and get rid of any stick that might be there. I hate it when they stick. It just drives me crazy. Just try not to make it too dirty. One thing at a time, but we're going to put the little bees in the middle here. So I've got two that I did with the heat tool. I'm only just going to use one because one of them I kind of messed up. Now there's two sides to these. You've got the shiny side and you've got the non-shiny side. I'm going to have the shiny side up. These won't flip over. That's the one that I broke. Because they are so big. I'm only going to end up with 5 bees. Okay, kind of wanted more than that. I'm just going to put them in the middle. They will move around. But this is definitely tall enough. So I'm just, as a test, this is just being held in place. See, when you shake it, they do move. So as long as you've got movement in there, it'll be fine. Okay, so we'll put all of the glue on the outside, just around the outside of the honeycomb. I know why. Okay. You're all probably screaming at the... Oh no, that's not why. I thought it was because we had the glue on the these bits, the honeycomb bits, but that's not what they're getting stuck on. So hold on, there's got to be another reason. So I'm going to put a bit more powder. I'm not going to put any more glue on here. I'm putting the powder on the actual cardstock itself, and then I'm going to come up in these edges and I'm going to get right in there. Probably going to use too much powder now, and then I'll have the opposite problem, but anyway, just want them to shake. Put these back in again. They are shaking, they are moving, but they are still getting stuck. But I'm gonna hope that when the glue dries that they won't get as stuck. So if I can get them to move from one side to the other. So we're gonna work with that. Not giving up on this project. Flat out refuse to give up on this project. So all we need now is just a sentiment. I'm going to use one from the stamp set. I don't know which one. I've got You're Beautiful, We Belong Together. I've got I Believe in You, which is, I would use that one, but I use that on the other card that I'll show you in just a sec. So I think I'll use the You're Beautiful. Grab that. I'm going to use a little bit of this cardstock that was left over, a bit of ink on it. I haven't actually put any more ink on there than there was before. That's just what's left over. I'm just going to stamp that using the VersaFine, so we stay with that brown colour. This is the sepia one, vintage sepia it's called. I was going to heat emboss it, but now I can't because of my gun not working, so we'll just go with this. And I'll trim that out in a sec, and then I'm going to mount it up on a bit of white, so we've got the white on the outside. Sentiments on. I'm just giving this a bit of a clean. I've got a bit of glue and bits of mess on the back. All I'm going to do is rub that off camera, and you'll never know it was even there. Now, I did forget to show the card, so I filmed this and then we're going to shove it in and then we'll go to the outro. But this was the other card that I made using this kit, which was really, really, really simple. All this is just a black background, some not pattern paper, some coloured cardstock, which I've just inked using, I think I used ground espresso or walnut stain with the background cling stamp on there. But you can see the sort of white, it sort of turned a little bit white, which is why I deliberately used the vintage sepia VersaFine on the other card, so that I didn't have that, because I wanted it to be a bit more bold. But just a really, really simple one, this one, that was just, seriously, I cut the images out and I coloured them in. That was it. But this is why I love this kit. It can be so complicated, like the shaker that I've just done, or it can be so simple, just like this really simple card. That card took a really long time. I tried a bunch of stuff that I've never tried before. I'm not happy with this little bee, and I'm trying to see if I can get him to wiggle over there. Shh, nobody saw me do that. But they do move around. They do give me what I want. They're just not quite perfect. I need to play with my technique a little bit, I think. But can I say I love this card even though it drove me bonkers? I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I think it's really pretty. I really like the background, and I really like the bees that they are in there, but I just need to work out a way to get that to work a little bit better. But if you have any tips on how I can make my shakers not get stuck, I don't know why they're so hit and miss, but one day I can make them, and I think I've got the absolute perfect technique down, and then the next day I do the same thing and it doesn't work, and I don't know why. Please let me know down below, or you can find me on any of my socials. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big old thumbs up. I am sorry it is a little bit longer. I'm hoping Ryan has done some wonders in the editing process that has made this not quite so long. But yes, thank you for staying with me as long as you did. I hope you guys have an absolutely awesome day, and I'll catch you again in my next video. Sending lots of huggles.